The oil price has obviously fallen by kind of 50% or more between July last year and early this year. And that's already having a negative effect on government revenues, and that's starting to have a knock-on effect for government spending. So we'll probably see defence spending stabilise at around $100 billion over the next few years or so. For procurement spending, obviously there's more of an impact there. Generally, when we see a period of political or economic uncertainty in the region, tend to see procurement activity drop off a little bit. So defence spending on procurement could go down by around 20%. We see this kind of as a short-term blip. I think by the time we get to kind of 2017, 2018, we should see robust real terms growth return. Bahrain is probably one of the most exposed. They already had a budget deficit even before the crisis hit. They also have quite high public debt ratio, around 40%, more than 40% of GDP. They had really already been expecting a kind of gradual fiscal consolidation process there. I think that'll now be sped up, and defence is bound to be part of that. They grew the defence budget quite rapidly since between 2011 and 2013. So we expect defence spending there to fall by maybe 20% or so over the next 2 years in real terms. Oman is another one, not quite as negative. In fact, in 2015, they've already kind of announced their budget for the year, and defence spending is actually going to go up by another 3%. But it's almost a wait and see budget. They don't want to make an knee-jerk reaction to what's going on, so they've said, we'll see where the situation stabilises in terms of oil prices, and then we'll make adjustments or remedial action next year. So we think from 2016, if you consider the defence budget doubled there, more than doubled between 2011 and 2014, and we're coming to the end of kind of a procurement cycle there as well. I think it's almost inevitable that we'll see kind of real terms cuts from 2016 onwards. So we don't expect the full extent of that growth we saw from 2011 to be reversed. We think defence spending will stabilise maybe $7 or $8 billion for the remainder of the decade, and that compares to $4 or $5 billion before. So certainly higher, but yeah, again, not a positive trend going forward. All the countries in the region are going to be negatively affected by this trend. There's no doubt about that. But I think there's certainly some countries that are in a better position. And they generally fall into two main categories, either countries that have more economic diversity or countries that have large reserves, so they can kind of plug any gaps. UAE would be a prime example of the first kind. We've just implemented a national service policy, so we think that'll place upward pressure on personnel expenses. Also in the UAE, they kind of had their period of rapid defence spending growth between 2007 and 2011. So for the last 3 or 4 years, they've been consolidating defence spending at around $15 billion a year. That's been part of kind of a broader process of fiscal consolidation. Like I say, it's been underway for a few years. So there's more room for manoeuvre in UAE. So we expect actually growth to continue despite what's going on. Saudi Arabia is really... that's down to reserves. The government there doesn't seem overly concerned at the moment. They don't want to make any knee-jerk reaction in terms of what they're going to do with spending. They're happy to use their reserves to plug any kind of potential budget deficit that they might have this year. In general terms, in Saudi Arabia, we certainly see it as a negative trend in that growth will slow down. But in general terms, I think by 2017 we should see kind of robust growth, maybe 5% or more a year return by that time. And that's really symptomatic of the whole region as a whole. We think this is a short-term slowdown. We'll see more cautious spending maybe for the next 2 years. But in general, I think the region kind of retains this kind of strong growth potential going forward.